The purpose of this video is to introduce students to Unit 2. You may recall that in Unit 1 our focus was on early English colonial development in North America, starting with Jamestown in 1607 and then focusing on the development of New England after the establishment of the Plymouth colony in 1620. Over the remainder of the 1600s and throughout the 1700s, the English colonies fully developed in North America along the Atlantic seaboard. Although many colonial plantation owners used indentured servants early on as a workforce, eventually African slaves were considered and used as that workforce. African slavery was used in all the colonies throughout the 1600s and into the 1700s. The use of African slaves in colonial North America brought millions of Africans to the Western Hemisphere and also increased the beliefs and occurrences of racial segregation throughout the colonies. In the mid-1700s, the independence movement amongst American colonists grew in importance. That movement was represented most by the creation of the Declaration of Independence by Thomas Jefferson at the Continental Congress in 1775. The Declaration of Independence highlighted the grievances that the colonial leaders had with the English government and signaled the beginning of the Revolutionary War. The Revolutionary War was fought in the American colonies between the Continental Army and the British military that was sent to put down the rebellion. The war was not short. In fact, it lasted 8 years. But eventually the colonies were victorious in their march for independence. The Revolutionary War started in New England, specifically at the battles of Lexington and Concord in 1775. Much of the fighting in the early part of the war was in the northern colonies. However, as the war progressed, fighting shifted to the middle colonies and eventually to the southern colonies. The final major battle of the war was at Yorktown in 1781, and it is there that the Continental Army, led by George Washington, was able to successfully score a victory against a major British troop. When the Revolutionary War was over in 1783, the most important gain for the colonies was their independence. However, another important development as a result of the Revolutionary War was the land gained by the American states. They gained all the land west up to the Mississippi River. With the end of the Revolutionary War, the colonial leaders, who were now independent, had to quickly figure out a system of government to establish within the United States. This is where our Unit 2 study begins, with the establishment of the United States Constitution in 1788. The U.S. Constitution that was developed in Philadelphia at the Constitutional Convention of 1788 established a representative democracy in the United States. The Constitution established the federal government and broke that government into 3 separate branches, and immediately after its ratification by the states, a Bill of Rights was added. The first 10 amendments, which are known as the Bill of Rights, guarantee individual freedoms and limit the power of the federal government.